Welcome to today's show. I am your host, Eric Darnley Small. Thank you so much for joining me. And I want to begin today by sort of going off of something that I mentioned yesterday. Heather Cox Richardson has been posting on her site, her excellent YouTube channel, and as well on her Substack, things that you can do now to sort of get in the game and to fight back about what's going on. I said on my last video that we lost the fight during the election, and now we're sitting back doing analysis, trying to figure out what's going on with the country and with the people and how and why we lost. But actually, that isn't true. There are people that are going ahead and they're doing things. There are protests out there. There are attempts to do something about immigration and to block these ICE raids. Excellent reporting. I believe it was out of the Wall Street Journal about how communities, particularly in Chicago, Hispanic communities, are coordinating when ICE raids come because they're prepared and they're letting people know and they're taking action to avoid the ICE raids. So there are things you can do. I want to begin that at the top of the show and say, as far as everything that's going on with Musk and stuff that I've talked about, you can go ahead and contact your congressman, put pressure on them. You know, these guys who are MAGA types, the reason why these people are getting through on Trump's cabinets is that they get phone calls. Speaking of which, yesterday, Pam Bondi got through and she immediately began an investigation into the investigators. So you can get out there and begin calling your senator, your congressperson, your state senator, whomever. And if you go to Heather Cox Richardson's website, her YouTube channel, you can see where she is talking about what people are doing. And you may be able to find links to other people. But folks are getting together in groups and they're beginning to talk about things that they can do. Of course, you don't want to take any physical action. Everything needs to be protests. They need to be protests that are peaceful and so forth. But there are things you can do. And if you're itching to do something and taking action, you know, you can do it. You can call up your congressman, tell them that you want them to do something about what's going on with Elon Musk and these crazy folks. I believe that what's going to happen going forward, particularly given what we just saw yesterday, that people are going to go ahead and start, because people are going to start really realizing what is going on here. 2 weeks now, we're in week 3, that the price of eggs has not gone down, and that in fact, things are getting more chaotic, and Donald Trump doesn't seem to care. So speaking of the price of eggs, checking in on the economy, my last video I did, I talked about politics and more politically. I don't want to forget the economy and the markets and some interesting things that I've heard just recently over the weekend. And one of the things last year I talked about and did videos about was the market and how oversold it is and how people are saying that a correction is coming. Market bubbles and housing worries, and what about the price of eggs? That's today's show, and that's the focus. And are we seeing signs of a bubble? I'm going to read from Paul Krugman, who did an article just yesterday, but he actually did a Substack video with another gentleman where they talked about this interesting thing about AI and whether an AI bubble is forming. Mortgage demand drops. I thought Donald Trump was supposed to do something about that. You know, interest rates are too high. No, and he hasn't even mentioned it. In the first days, they went after DEI and ICE raids. No mention of that. And are the American people really going to sit back and have him spend money on rebuilding Gaza? So, and then my final thoughts. So let's get into it. Let's start. And again, I said this from Paul Krugman's Substack. It was February 5th of this year. And let me just begin by saying, check out his Substack. Links, of course, in the Mastodon. But it is an excellent read to know about the economy. So he says, after a generation of rapid productivity growth after World War II, progress slowed to a crawl for 2 decades. Then it surged again. The peak of 2005 means that there was rapid progress from roughly 1995 to 2005. True, The surge didn't last. Back in 2000, the economist Robert Gordon argued that the IT revolution was far less significant than what he called the second industrial revolution of the late 19th century, built around electricity, internal combustion engines, chemicals, and, last but not least, indoor plumbing. Still, the tech surge was real and brought real benefits to the economy, adding perhaps 10% to real GDP. What it didn't do was justify the high valuations temporarily placed on tech stocks. So why did tech stocks rise so high before crashing? Economist Robert Shiller argued that asset bubbles can act like a natural Ponzi scheme. Those who get in early make money not from underlying asset returns, but from rising prices driven by later entrants. As people see the big payoff others are receiving, they pile in too, driving the asset price even higher. It's impossible to read about the internet-based frenzy of the late 1990s without drawing parallels with the AI-based frenzy we're experiencing right now. In fact, even the numbers look similar. In 1999, the price to earnings ratio for the S&P 500 hit 33, which looked and was crazy. As I work on this post, the PE ratio is about 30. AI then is a serious technology that will add significantly to economic growth. Estimates, however, are all over the place, from a one-time bump of a point or two in GDP to a singularity in which computers truly become intelligent, surpassing humans, and then Skynet kills us all. What's different this time is that AI fever is concentrated in a handful of companies, the Magnificent Seven, most of which are already entrenched quasi-monopolies. Historically, major new technologies have tended to disrupt the existing market hierarchy. This time, investors are in fact expecting radical new technology to reinforce that hierarchy. In any case, the concentrated nature of AI frenzy goes along with another big difference from 1990s, political power. The share of Tesla, in particular, appears to be completely divorced from fundamentals and makes sense, if at all, only in terms of Elon Musk's apparent role as co-president. But suppose that we think of those proposals not in terms of national interest, but in terms of who would get the money. Who holds a lot of cryptocurrency that the government would buy up? Which companies do you think would receive the lion's share of the subsidies for AI? There are some clear similarities between the 1990 tech bubble and the recent AI fever, but this bubble may not end with a pop, but with a giant tech bro bailout. So that's Paul Krugman on his view of what's going on. And this article read a little choppy, partially because it is not the entire article, it's portions of the article. I encourage you to go to my Mastodon and take a look at the full article. But I condensed it to the most important parts. And I think the most important part of all of this is that Krugman believes, as others do, that a AI bubble is building and is inflating. And it is going to pop just like every other bubble eventually. And now when it does, the market is going to have a correction and everything's going to drop. I still believe that we're not out of the woods with housing, nor are we out of the woods with respect to retail or commercial, I should say, housing or commercial real estate. We know last year there was a huge run on the banks, and we had a problem, or the government had a problem trying to correct that. And thank God we have FDIC, which came in and rescued those banks. Donald Trump, I'm certain, according to reports before he was nominated or before he was sworn in, wanted to get rid of FDIC. So the hits just keep on coming. But speaking of mortgages, on the list of things that frustrated voters was interest rates, specifically the interest rates on mortgages and home loans. While Trump is talking about occupying Greenland and Gaza, that's in the next article, buyers are still struggling to find a home. This is from CNBC, and it goes, quote, home buyers are seeing very little reason to jump on the all-important spring housing market, even with more listings coming up for sale. Mortgage rates haven't moved much in the last few weeks, and home prices continue to rise. Mortgage applications to purchase a home last week dropped 4% compared with the previous week, according to the Mortgage Bankers Association's seasonally adjusted index. Demand was flat with the same week a year ago. Mortgage rates moved lower last week, consistent with the lower Treasury yields following the FOMC meeting and a volatile week for stock market. 30-year fixed rate declined to its lowest level in 6 weeks. Joel Kahn, Vice President and Deputy Chief Economist at MBA. Mortgage applications to buy a home are now 39% lower than they were in February 2019, pre-pandemic. Home sales are running at a near 30-year low, and house prices nationally continue to hit record highs. More sellers are offering price cuts, 15.6% in January compared with 14.7% in January of last year, according to Realtor.com. But most sellers are still seeing enough competition to hold fast to their list prices. Meanwhile, the supply of homes for sale rose 25% compared with a year ago. Much of the supply gain is because homes are sitting on the market longer. The average time to sell a home in January was 54 days, the longest since March 2020, according to Redfin. The supply of homes for sale is still 25% below where it was in January 2019. So again, this is one of those things that was supposed to be fixed by Donald Trump early on. And this was supposed to be an easy one, something that he could do very quickly. But instead, Donald Trump appears to be obsessed with building. And at a press briefing just recently, he stood near Benjamin Netanyahu and, said what I'm about to say. And again, as I said earlier at the top of the show, this is more evidence Trump has failed to deliver. While racists got what they wanted, the end of DEI, the Broligards got what they wanted, which is access to our payment systems. Gen Sixers, they got what they wanted, a blanket pardons. The conservatives got what they wanted, the deep state neutralized and mass firing throughout the administration. Libertarians got what they wanted with the pardon of the Silk Road mastermind. Where are the American people in this list of things? Interest rates are still high. Home buying is down. The price of eggs is still high. Nothing has changed for the president. So much for all that big talk and all the winning that we would be doing. Instead, Donald Trump has all but conceded he's helpless to do something about the price of eggs. He has even said his tariffs will make things worse in the short term. Plus, as the administration begins cutting resources from the American people, he has speculated the U.S. should go into Gaza and quote unquote take it over. From his meeting with the Israeli Prime Minister, quote, the U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip and we will do a job with it too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and the other weapons on the site, level the site, and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people in the area. To be clear, it's not make America great again, it's make Gaza great again. With our taxpayer dollars, with the lives of American troops, the scam continues. So, of course, the MAGA people are not yet clued into the scam. Again, this is like the love scam. They're taking more and more money, and the person is not figuring out that this is all a fabrication. But Donald Trump has made it clear about what his concerns are and what is important to him. There's reporting now out of CNBC that the tax cuts, which surprisingly Republicans seem to be having difficulty getting back or doing something about, they're having difficulty trying to figure out how they're going to do this. The hardliners want massive $2 trillion cuts. Others, less of a giant cut. But of course, cut in spending. The hardliners want a cut in spending that's $2 trillion. Of course, the non-MAGA, I guess you could call it less MAGA, but conservative Republicans want tax cuts, and they want fewer cuts, but some cuts, of course, to the prize, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and of course, healthcare. So the grift keeps on grifting. The hits keep on coming. Donald Trump doesn't care about American people or the American voter or any of those things. He wants to make Gaza great again. So it just goes to show you where his priorities always were. So just to sum up, The market may be in for a rough ride. A bubble is about to burst, perhaps. I should have had a question mark there. But all the smart money says that the market is oversold and due for a correction. The AI movement in the age of DeepSeek may be the place where that system is vulnerable. But what about the other cracks that exist? No one is talking about real estate in the banking industries. I talked about it just a few moments ago. But are those industries okay? Are those sectors okay? And with all the mass firings and cuttings, what will happen if there is a market correction or a massive market correction in both housing, AI, and in the real estate sector? A triple threat, a triple hit to the market, triple hit to the economy. What's going to happen if that happens and there's nobody running FDIC, nobody running and preparing for this? Mortgage demand is down. Again, people are not buying. Interest rates are still too high. Not a word from the president, but what he will do about it. That was supposed to be, by the way, economic anxiety. Remember? That was why they went to Trump and didn't want Biden-Harris, right? He was going to do something about it. And then all that we have heard is that taxpayer dollars should rebuild Gaza, and we need to take Greenland and the Panama Canal by force if necessary. Again, this is, folly. This is arrogance. This is overreach. This is what a person says when they are so confident in what they think that they can do, and they don't think anybody will be able to stop them. And unfortunately, between Trump and this guy Hegseth, I think they're going to do it. I think they're going to go in there and they're going to try and take over Gaza. And it will be the biggest mistake the American military can make since the Iraq War. The parallels between what Donald Trump is doing and what the Iraq War is pretty striking. The mistakes, he apparently learned none of it, because all of the things that he did there, he's doing to our government. And he hasn't even learned the lesson of, not going to war in Iraq, in the Middle East. So Donald Trump and Hegseth, who, all you need is a terror attack in America, which unfortunately I really think is going to happen. All you need is a terror attack for them to decide we're going to go into the Middle East again. And by the way, let's stop off at Gaza and make that great again too. Thank you for watching today's episode, and you'll see me on the next one. Take care, everyone. Hey there, fantastic viewers. Eric Darnley Small here, and I hope you're loving today's episode of What You Missed. You've reached the end of today's show, but don't worry, there's more show coming up. If you're watching this on YouTube, please click the bell so that you'll be notified when more content is available. You can also help the channel by clicking the like and subscribe buttons. It helps the YouTube algorithm find new viewers so that I can keep bringing you all this incredible content you enjoy. But wait, there are more ways to support the show. You can make a contribution through the show's PayPal, which goes a long way in helping produce even better content for you. And consider becoming a part of our growing community by joining our Mastodon site at mastodon.vtip.me/@whatyoumissed for more engaging discussions and exclusive updates. And here's something you won't want to miss. Mark your calendars for our live show streaming on YouTube and stream.vtip.me Monday mornings, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Your support means the world to me, and together we're making What You Missed the best it can be. Thanks for being a part of my journey.